introduction and overview. So the story mind becomes really important to Dramatica and really important to everything we're going to talk about today. It's the central concept. What does it mean? Okay, what does this story mind mean? All right. Let me see. I want to make sure I haven't missed any video clips here that I would want to show you here. I don't believe I have. That's the one. No. Okay, good. So the story mind, in brief, means that the party line on it, the Dramatica party line, is that every story is an analogy to a single human mind dealing with an inequity. Wow, that's almost as pretty as the line of critical self-awareness, ain't it?
Could you do that one again, Melanie?
Every story is an analogy to a single human mind dealing with an inequity. Okay. It is a pretty turn of a phrase. It's accurate. It's a mouthful. It's way intellectualized. But it basically means that a story is a person. A story is a person. It has its own identity. It has its own psychology, which is the structure, and its own personality, which is all the storytelling and subject matter. In other words, if you look at any person, the underlying psychology that makes them one kind of a person over another, like neurotic, psychotic, or what kind of a person they are at the very foundational levels, the way their psychology works, clinically, the way their psychology works, that's the structure of a story. And when you look at whether they're interested in the Civil War or science fiction, whether they're a practical joker or they're shy, all of these things that are human qualities or interests that are layered on the basic psychology, all of that's part of the storytelling. That's the personality of your story. So story's personality, is going to touch on, again, genre, character, theme, and plot. Those all have aspects in the personality and also aspects in the psychology. The psychology of it is going to be how do they hang together as elements, an antagonist, a protagonist, a reason character, an emotion character, representing these parts of the human mind psychology, and others. But they must be in there. If you don't have a character who's the voice of reason, then you've got a mind that doesn't have any intellect. If you've got no character who expresses the human aspect, the emotion aspect, what's it feel like, then they are a character that's an automaton, like Mr. Spock tries to be, okay? If you have a story that doesn't have a protagonist, then it has no motivation, no initiative. If you have a story that doesn't have an antagonist, it doesn't have any sense of putting things back, stopping progress, maintaining the status quo, or returning to the status quo. That's what an antagonist does. Antagonist, it's trying to stop things or put things back the way they were. Protagonist is trying to start something new. That's what a protagonist does. It makes it more clear when you're talking about characters when you realize that a protagonist is our sense of initiative and an antagonist is our sense of don't go there, okay? Because now it takes out of the realm of being a hero and a villain. Hero and a villain have a bunch of other stuff in there which we'll talk about. For example, being a bad guy or a good guy. That's one of the big things of a hero and villain. But you can be a bad guy or a good guy without being a protagonist or antagonist. And you can be an antagonist or protagonist without necessarily being bad or good. You can be either one. They both could be bad. They both could be good. We'll talk about that in character. But when you recognize the structural aspects, that's what the story mind does for us. That here's the psychology. And everything that goes on in our heads has to be represented in stories. Why? Because it's the carrier wave. We talked about that earlier. It's the carrier wave. And if you want to have a mindset that your audience or reader can put on and become fully involved with the story, the author takes his mindset of the message he wants to get across passionately and logistically and creates a story. And this story is a psychology with and a personality, a story mind. And the audience or our reader takes that and puts it onto their own head. We don't have telepathy yet, so we have to go through a medium, and the medium is this structure called the story mind. And if it covers all aspects of psychology and touches on all triggers of personality, then it feels complete to the reader or to the audience. If it's missing a part, it feels like there's a hole. If something tweaks a way that they wouldn't do in their own minds, then it feels like there's an inconsistency.